Wyoming has become somewhat of a tradition for me. There's not many places that you can basically hunt elk, mule deer, and antelope all in the same unit at the same time. So it's kind of become like my first stop every September. You know, of course you have to draw those tags, but it's kind of a neat opportunity that, you know, you put in for mule deer, you put in for antelope, you put in for elk, and, you know, hopefully you can draw all three. Anytime I can hedge my bets, you know, having the TV show and, you know, a minimal amount of time, or at least a allotted amount of time that I have to get out there and produce shows. If I could get out there and produce more than one show at a time, you know, I'm going to take that. So join us this week. This episode will be hunting mule deer, but we're hunting mule deer and antelope in Wyoming. So like I said, I drew an antelope tag and a mule deer tag this year. And this year for mule deer, I decided I was going to try to err more on the side of a trophy hunter, or at least hunt a specific type of deer. Well, really what it is that I don't have any big velvet mule deer. I've never been able to harvest a mature mule deer in velvet. All my good bucks are in hardhorn, and I've gotten them in during the rut or a different time of the year. And I've been wanting to get a big velvet muley. So I said this year, that was the goal. I'm going to, not necessarily, I didn't have a size in mind, but I knew I wanted it to be mature, and I knew I wanted it to be velvet buck. So I really kind of came up with a game plan that I was going to stick to that and not deviate. Because normally, when I see something I like, hardhorn, velvet, whatever, I go for it. We met up with Hunting Channel Pro staff and good friend, Wade Roberts. And if you don't know who Wade is by now, Wade is one of my cameramen and has actually become one of my favorite hunting buddies. Wade and I have gone all over the country together, and we've hunted together for a number of different years. He's been featured on my show several times. Actually, he'll be on 2 episodes this year. He went with me as a cameraman to Montana. So Wade runs Sawn Dogs. It's a group on Facebook about predator hunting. So check him out on that. You know, we got there, and in true Days in a Wild fashion, we went straight from the airport, straight out to the field to see what we could see.
Into the yellow grass. Just follow that ridge up. He's just on the ridge. That's the buck. Where? I'll see. Which? Okay. You see this? closer. Yeah, I got him.
It's kind of narrow.
No, he's way over here on this side. If you follow the ridge where Houdini was on, right here, and come down that very, where it gets real thick. You got it? The one behind that foreground is really good.
Well, it didn't take us long to start turning up bucks. It seemed like they were everywhere. Every time I picked up the glasses and looked in a direction, I was spotting deer. And like I said, I was really hoping to get a mature velvet buck. I must have been praying a whole lot at that point to find a mature buck, because out of nowhere, Levi taps me on the shoulder and said, "There's a buck coming." And I look up the ridge, and here comes this 150-ish velvet muley buck coming down the ridge right towards us. I quickly ranged them up, grabbed the bow nice and slow, drew back, anchored, felt like it was perfect, shot, and I shot right between his legs, right under him.
I think you went right in front of him.
How the hell did I miss him? How the hell did I miss him? I was a mess. I was beating myself up. I couldn't figure out how I missed it. And it turns out I made a rookie mistake. So when I ranged where he was walking to, I ranged the bush that he was angling towards. And it turns out that bush was at like 10 yards closer than he was actually standing. And that's why I shot under him. It's always a good thing to, take a couple of different measurements, especially when you're dealing with brush and stuff like that, because you never really know where that's bouncing off of. But it ended up being a lucky miss, because shortly thereafter, I found the group of bucks that held the deer that I was going to target for the rest of the trip. Well, there were about 5 or 6 bucks in this group, and at least 3 of them were definite shooters, and another 1 or 2 that were right there on the edge. Light was fading quick, so we came up with an aggressive plan to get down there, get set up on an ambush point. They were coming down this draw, and we got set up on this cedar that was right above. It was almost like a tree stand shot. I mean, it was 25 feet up above where they were going to come down through. It was a perfect setup. And we got there, we got set up, we beat them there, and we're waiting and waiting. Light is fading quick. And me being a very impatient person, and I kind of went against my gut feeling told me to stay there, but my impatientness said, let's get aggressive and move up the draw about 100 yards. So we made a move, we slipped up 100 yards, we got into position, only to find out that those deer had passed us somehow and were standing right under the cedar where we had set up the initial ambush site.
Well, it was a lucky miss. I missed the buck. He was at 54 yards. I ranged him up. I got 45. I shot for 45. I shot between his legs. No, soon after we missed him, we picked up these big group of big bucks. There's like a 170, a 180, maybe even a 190 in there. Giant bucks. We made the move. We got over here. We sat up above them, thinking they were going to come down the draw. It was getting dark. So we said, hey, let's push forward. We pushed forward. We got here. We looked back. They were right below where we were sitting. Oh, man, I wish I went with my gut instinct. I should have opened my mouth. wanted to stay there. I knew we were going to get a shot. I just hope we didn't book her up too good because they caught a glimpse of us over here. They're just sitting right there right now, just standing 150 yards from us. All right, let's back up.
Often people say to me, "Oh, you TV guys have it easy." All I can do is smile. Not many people know what goes into doing what I do. It's a lot of hard work on and off season. I spend countless hours training, preparing, and studying my sport. So I don't like leaving anything to chance. That's why I surround myself with best companies and tools, like my Chevy Silverado. Whether I'm training for a hunt, scouting, or getting back into the deep country to chase the big boys, it's with me every step of the way. I'm John Stallone, professional hunter, and Chevy Silverado is my truck. And my home dealer is Van Chevrolet.
Well, the next morning we decided to get out really early. And my game plan was, we knew these deer were using this drainage to go down. There's private land that drainage leads to, and there's a big alfalfa field where deer and antelope were pouring into that we could see from our glassing point the night before. We knew these deer were going to that. So we just thought, you know, let's get ahead of them. They're gonna come back up this drainage to go bed up in these hills and in these canyons back here. Let's get ahead of them. Wouldn't you know it, our assumption was correct, but they were moving back a lot earlier. They were still moving back in the dark. We actually encountered them while we were driving in. Well, I know what some of you guys are thinking. Why didn't I just get out of the truck right there? That deer was 45 yards from the truck, and I could have smoked him. And I know I could have, and believe me, it ran through my head. But, you know, and nobody probably would have known. I could have easily made movie magic and nobody would have known that I did that. But I would have known. And, you know, it was a little too dark and we were at the road and I just didn't feel right about it. So we let him go. We did our best to get ahead of them and get set up to possibly get a shot once it got a little bit lighter and we were in the right position to do so. Well, we end up playing cat and mouse with these bucks for the rest of the morning, all the way to about 11 o'clock.
Yeah, go to that where that green grass is. This little cut right here. Right. Okay, let's do that. I'd rather not try to get any closer in here and then possibly bump them.
Pretty much every time we try to get ahead of them, they would be just 100 yards out of our range, or, you know, just a little bit out of the, you know, and it was just constantly. We would move, we would get to a different spot and try to get where they were going. We would zig and they would zag. And we just kept doing that, like I said, till about 11 o'clock. From that point on, we decided, hey, let's go look around. We're way back here in this canyon country. Let's start picking out the country, see if we can't find something bedded, because we never saw where they actually bedded down.
Narrow 3-point also.
Well, the next few days was more of the same. We kept finding good bucks, we kept finding those bucks, and you know, having a cat and mouse interchange and never being able to get it done. And of course, I had multiple opportunities to shoot other bucks that I wasn't interested in. I was interested in them, but I set myself a goal. We even found this one older deer that was a little crabby clawed in the back, and he was a really good buck, nice frame. I was really tempted. Actually, I was so tempted that I slapped on the Sneak Tech boots and put a stalk on him and got him in range, drew down on him, and talked myself out of it the last second, and I let him go.
It's very easy to overlook the minor and insignificant, but on the mountain, it's a game of inches. Every choice has meaning, and success is in the details. Don't overlook the little things, because they're often what matter most. Choose wisely. Tenzing. Go further, hunt longer.
Well, it's the last morning. Got a couple hours to hunt. We really only got till about 9 o'clock, and we got to head out, get back, pack everything up, and hit the road, catch a plane. Well, one of the drawbacks to, you know, hunting a specific buck or targeting, in my case, is three bucks that I had on my hit list. You know, you run the risk of going home empty-handed. You know, last night was awesome because one of the bucks that Wade wanted ended up popping up down the draw, and you know, he wasn't going to hunt, but I handed him my bow. I said, man, you want that buck, go for him. And him and Levi snuck down, got in front of him, and he made a beautiful shot at 74 yards using my bow, you know. So it was quite an achievement, you know, to take a long shot like that, make a beautiful shot. I mean, he didn't run 80 yards, and he piled up with a bow that you've never shot before. You know, so, hey, you know what? We might go home empty-handed. I don't know that this morning, in the few hours that I have to hunt, that I'm going to pass up any mature buck. I've kind of, I'm still going to target those bucks, and if I can make it happen, I will. But if the opportunity presents itself on a good mature buck, I don't think I'm going to pass up another buck. I've done plenty of that on this trip. And I don't want to go home empty-handed, since I don't have time to come back and fill my tag in the rifle season. Well, let's get at it. Let's see what happens.
Well, of course, in usual John Stallone fashion, it came down to the last day. And like the days prior, right away, I picked up 2 of the big bucks that we were after. And they were working down a different draw system, a different drainage that was meeting up with that main drainage that they had been using a bunch. We went after, I got aggressive. It was our last morning. We had to catch a flight out at like 1 o'clock that afternoon. So I really only had a couple hours to hunt in the morning, go back and get myself. So we got aggressive. We ran down the main drainage, got to a point where basically both drainages intersect. Got to the spot and they were coming, and I peered around the corner and I realized that they were starting to veer off and not coming straight down the ridge. They were starting to veer off, and I ranged them up from where I was at, and they were at 88 yards. A little too far out of range for that bow that I was shooting, and really all I could do is watch them feed away from us. I had, you know, like I said, didn't have a lot of time, so we couldn't really circle back and get around. So what I decided to do at that point is watch them walk away, and basically I said, hey Levi, let's kind of just hunt our way back. So I picked up the glass, started glassing back towards the way we had to hike to get to the truck, and I saw another group of deer coming up from those ag fields I talked about, up this drainage, and they were heading right to the cedar where we started our first night. And these deer were heading straight for us. And one of the bucks looked like a buck that I had passed on twice. He was actually in velvet the first time I had an opportunity. About to jump over a barbed wire fence, and I had him at 60 yards, and I could have easily taken him if I wanted. And again, we had him another time. We were sitting on top of a bluff and glassing, and we heard something, and I kind of peeked over, and there was a deer working its way below us, and I believe it was the same buck. But you know what? I'm not one for wanting to go home empty-handed, and he was a respectable deer, and certainly not one of the biggest, one of my biggest mule deer, and he wasn't in velvet anymore. He only had a little piece hanging off. So it wasn't going to make my goals, but I really did not want to go home empty-handed. So we set up on him. Sure enough, these deer, they came right. They read the script correctly, and he popped out underneath us, or the whole group did, about 25 yards, and I let him have it.
It's our last morning. Only got about an hour left to hunt. There's some deer coming down the wash. Levi and I jumped back over here to our favorite spot in the tree, and we're trying to cut them off. They pop out over here. I'm going to take this 4-point. That's what I'm... Well, we shot that buck from up there by that cedar. It was only 25 yards. I should have stopped him, and I didn't. So I kind of center punched him. I caught liver and guts, but he just ran up this, you know, little ways over here. Matter of fact, he was still only 88 yards from us from up there, and we just sat here on him for about 45 minutes, and he ended up expiring. So we're just gonna go up here and go see what he looks like. You know, I had my heart set on a big buck, and but I didn't want to go home empty-handed, so he was a decent 4-point, and, you know, last day buck. Oh, he's a sneaky bastard. Oh. Not my best muley, but not my worst either. So I'm happy with him. He's kind of heavy, actually. He's got pretty heavy bases. Just doesn't have much of a frame. Still got blood on him here from rubbing off his velvet. A little piece of velvet hanging off over here. It's kind of cool. Well, guess now we have to pack him out. The Matthews did it again. Schwacker broadheads. I made a marginal shot, and luckily it was enough to put him down. I don't know why I didn't stop him. I guess I thought it was, well, it was 25 yards, but the line of sight was 50, so we had a real steep angle, so the travel time was a lot more than a 25-yard shot, and I didn't take that into account, so. But either way, I'm happy. He's a good buck. Definitely gonna come back next year and try to fill the tag with that velvet buck that I've been wanting. Since I don't have any good velvet bucks yet on the wall, all mine are hard-horned. I really, I need to scratch that itch. So next year we're definitely gonna put one of these big velvet bucks on the wall. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you out in the field. Huh?
I don't know where that is. Just cut it out.
See the bait? Yep, third. Oh, I gotta get these zip ties out of my.
You don't have to have it on while it's on.
You don't?
Well, the trip turned out to be an awesome trip. Didn't talk about it in this episode, but during the week we were there was this one buck that Wade really wanted, and he actually broke his bow. So I gave him my bow, and he was able to take this deer. So you're gonna see that on next week's episode. But, you know, all in all, it was a great hunt. We packed that deer out of there. We barely made it on the airplane in time. We literally had like 10 minutes to spare. And, you know, like I said, Wyoming is one of my favorite places to go hunt. It's a game and rich environment. Tags aren't too terrible to draw. And you can hunt multiple species at the same time. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you out in the field.